round of applause for GDF and the incredible work that she does in this city with the youth. Come on. And also DC Lawyers Against the Trump Agenda. Give it up for them. Come on, Paige White and Kiana. Incredible lawyers in Washington, D.C., fighting back, standing with the people, which is a rare thing. Ain't that right? All right. And then finally, of course, DC Against the Trump Agenda and DC Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression. That's the organization I'm in. We fight against police crimes and we fight for community control of the police. And of course, we have a wonderful author here who's going to be introduced by Ms. Hardy. And I'm actually going to start off with a video about him and then we'll get right into it. All right. Who are you? Oh, I'm Marawi Garema, as I said earlier, but I'll say it again. I'm Marawi Garema. And also, this is my family's bookstore as well. So welcome. I did. Yeah. Also, can I get do we have a copy of the book up here? I just want to shout that out real quick. We have a book that's going to be sold today. I'm going to grab a copy of it real quick. You got one? So as we are in a bookstore, we try to center all our discussions around books. We want to learn, we want to expand, we want to grow. Ain't that right? And so today we have this book by this incredible author, Halim A. Flowers. It's called What Our Fathers Never Told Us. And so we're going to be talking about that. We encourage everybody to buy a copy, get it signed by the brother while he's right here in the flesh, and it'll help you, know how to really move through this system, this injustice system, which has so many traps for us. This brother has so much to say. Ain't that right? And just to introduce our lawyers by name, we have Paige White. Please give it up. And Kiana Harris as well. Please give it up for both of them. All right. So we're going to play a video. And then we're going to get started. Can y'all hear it? Sorry. You know how YouTube do. Wait, is this? All right.
Children from juvenile courts and expose them to adult sentences without any kind of judicial process. He was a 16-year-old child in an adult jail, and it was someone else who did the shooting. That person didn't even go to trial. The government was aware that I wasn't looking when he did the shooting. The robbery happened with me by myself. I left, and then my friend went back around there and shot the person, and I wasn't looking. The government offered me that if I could. Cooperated with them to say that I was looking, that they would let me go, but I didn't take it. Even as a 16-year-old child, I was willing to die in prison with my morals and my principles, and not make somebody as a scapegoat so that I could return back to society. Did you recognize while you were in what you were being exposed to and how your views of the world were being shaped? I would go to the law library every Monday. I had to learn civil law and administrative law because the correctional officers, they'll take your human rights in there. And then I had to learn criminal law just to be able to appeal to get out. And then I had to survive. I had to learn how to manufacture weapons from broken mirrors. The DC jail is very violent. People getting the IRAA, this is the Incarceration Reduction Amendment Act in 2016, provided the possibility of a reduced sentence to those who were under 18 at the time they committed a crime after serving these 15 years. You learned very quickly it wasn't retroactive. So what did you do? I was able to email all of the elected representatives and to get people and their loved ones to go testify as someone to read my testimony, and through that guerrilla activism, we were able to get their testimony on record to get it amended to make it retroactive. Today,
4-year-old Halim Flowers is a visual artist. He is an author. He
Come
is a
on.
fashion designer.
That's right.
Father.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Yes, and with that, we're gonna hand it right over to Miss Hardy to start us off. Everybody, give it up for Miss Hardy, please.
I just truly want to thank Halim for coming out today. When I think about Halim's events, they're very fancy and elegant. So when I asked him to come here and he agreed, I just was so surprised that he came out. So I truly thank you. I met Halim. I run an organization called Guns Down Friday. And yes, some of my kids are in the back. Y'all wave your hands back there. Yes, yes. So I met this crew back here. Their friend was 16 years old, and he was shot and killed in the neighborhood. So I just wanted to create change, and I went to different communities, and I just started helping out. Uh, we have a social media. We're very popular. Follow us, Guns Down Friday USA. But Halim had hit us up, and he said, we love the work that you're doing, and we just want to support. So me and my daughter, we went to an art show in, I think, California. That was our first time there. And the experience was beautiful, you guys. It was like I had never been to California before. And with that experience, I was able to take 10th place, not to California. We did a trip to Miami. And it was just beautiful. And I just want to say thank you, Halim, for all the encouragement you give, not just to me, but just to the community, the young people. Being 16, just hearing your story, like, going through the questions. And when I was listening and posting it, I was just crying, like, because I didn't even know all of this about Halim. So when I heard his story and heard his voice, it reminded me so much of the young men that I work with. And how just something so simple, just knowing your rights, could just change your life. So I truly thank you. So why we're here today is a book that Halim wrote, What Our Fathers Never Told Us. So I want you to talk a little bit about this book and where you started and anything you want these young men and people to know about Halim.
Can you hear me? I'm definitely not a fancy person. I'm from the hood. I just make beautiful things. And I'm thankful that my mom is alive, that she's here, my best friend. My mom worked at the Library of Congress, so I kind of like had an unfair advantage than other incarcerated people. So I had a mom who was present and she can grab me anything that was ever copywritten. And I have like an insatiable capacity, a desire to learn. What it means is like I'm just a nerd. And we come up in a community where Black boy intelligence isn't celebrated. It's more celebrated to beat people up, to shoot people, go to jail, don't snitch, all these things, but things like being intelligent, being respectful, being a father, these things are often not celebrated. And so I wrote this book when I was 28, May 3rd, 2011. So it was 15 years ago. And the reason why I wrote this book, because when I came into prison in 1997, I was always the youngest person in the jail or in the prison. And then in 2009, 2010, started to see a young generation come in, take tattoos on their face, dreadlocks, wearing their pants tight. It was a culture shock, and it was a reality that I was no longer the youngest guy in the prison. And at that time, I had like 12 years in. I was only 28. And even though a lot of people couldn't see me sitting here today, this is my message to the young brothers in the back. But I already saw this in prison. And so I wrote these books as tools, because I knew that when I was 28 that I could write it in a simplistic style, like me studying like Marcus Garvey, Elijah Muhammad, just different great Black male leaders, and they were able to communicate to the masses in a very simplistic way, in a way that which a lot of academia across the street in Howard University would never be able to reach you. And I knew that with that documentary that they recorded, that I would have some credibility with guys in the trenches, because they couldn't deny it, that I've been in the trenches and then I've been in prison. I didn't snitch. I didn't mess with no boys. You know, I wasn't a punk in jail. So I knew that when I returned back to the community, that I would have some credibility, and I wanted to capture my thoughts at that time to you before I got too old like I am now. And I think now it's important for me to like work through you, because I'm really not like, you know, even she think I'm fancy, right? So I'm really not connected like directly into the community as much as others, but this was also planned out. And so for me, the I don't want to say a problem, but one thing I noticed about us from the District of Columbia, we have the best conditions for African Americans anywhere in the country. And when you in the federal system, you talk to guys from Mississippi, Alabama, California, Florida, Georgia, they're amazed that we can do decades of incarceration and come back and get jobs at Metro, DC government, you know, federal government. These opportunities don't exist anywhere else. And I saw that because we have this privilege of being DC blacks, that we are not encouraged to travel through the world. Like the world comes to us. And so for me, once I got out, I said, I want to do everything all over the world. And then I want to like, I'm really like your servant. People don't see it that way, but I'm really like your spook sitting by different doors. So I've been like invited to royal weddings in Norway and work with the royal family in England and stuff in Dubai and Liechtenstein. I'm just gathering data to bring it back to you so that you can know how to take your creativity, circumvent the decades in prison, stay out in the community, know how to take your creativity, how to protect it, right? We just see the situation with Pooh Shiesty and Gucci Mane. He entered into a contract that frustrated him because he didn't understand the value of his IP, his intellectual property, right? I want to teach you how to scale it globally and then how to protect it and how to like plan it out intergenerationally. So I want you to start thinking like right now, if you did a song or a dance and it goes viral, that this is an asset that not only that you earn from in your lifetime, but that you estate plan it. You got to start thinking about when I die, how do I protect and conserve my assets that I create so that my children and their children can eat off it in perpetuity, mean forever, like the Rockefellers have oil. And so I'm thankful to be here today. I don't want to be too long-winded, but it's a fulfillment of many prayers. I'm sure many tears from my mom, many ancestors that have passed, many comrades, best friends who we wouldn't be alive if we didn't protect each other. And I'm just thankful that I had a mom who facilitated the process of me publishing these 11 books when I was incarcerated. Thank you.
If it wasn't for my mama, I don't know where I would be, you guys. So I already know. Yes. So this book, oh my gosh, you guys, I read this book. I am in love with this book. When I read it, well, before I read it, I'm like, oh, you know, when kids don't like to read now. So, but when I looked at the book in each chapter, like some of the chapters were one page, I said, oh, they're going to love this. So I just want to read a little bit of this book. It's for my young men in the back. This really stood out to me. The chapter is called Grown. A man should always be in a state of growth, even when the physical body stops growing. A man should be growing mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. Even if you obtain the best college education and go on to teach at the best schools, you always have more to learn about yourself and others. Knowledge is infinite. and so is man in his ability to grow. If he truly accepts that he is in desperate need to grow. Oh, if he truly accepts that he's in desperate need to grow. And that really just stood out to me because y'all know how our kids are just so grown. Even me, I just swear I'm grown. So when I read that, I said, oh my gosh, I'm not grown because, we never stop growing. So part of the reason we're here also is the, know your rights. A few months ago, the neighborhood that we service, the guys back there, they love to have a good time. On the weekends, they are out there and they're just having a good time. Some of them work. A few of them lost friends to gun violence. So coming together in the community, it just means so much to them. And when I tell y'all that FBI takeover came, they locked so many innocent people up in the neighborhood. I remember this old guy who had a can of beer. He was outside with his beer, and the FBI rolls up and locks him up because he's sitting outside with his beer. Another young man, he, was arguing with the FBI agent, and he put him in handcuffs. And they eventually threw it out. But you guys know what happened on Friday. You get locked up on a Friday. You're not coming home till Monday. So it was a mess down there. So my question to you, Halim, is how does being informed about your rights play a role in taking control of your future?
The number one rule that you learn from, because we identify our community as the hood. And so the number one rule is survival, right? And what happens is that we only think about that in the way of violence, right? We don't think about that in the way of weaponizing our intelligence. And that is, as men and women, we have a responsibility to our household and our communities. Like, we're willing to shoot somebody as a kid, not tell, get multiple life sentences. But now with AI technology, a lot of the things that we're complaining about, you can get a $20 a month or a free AI account, Claude, ChatGPT, and you can literally go into the AI and say, hey, the FBI is in my community. What constitutional right do they have to lock somebody up for a beer under DC law or federal law? So you can have an intelligent conversation with your AI, whereas though when we went to prison, there's multiple people in here that was, in prison with me. We had to shepherdize cases, read books and go through case law and book after book after book. And so one of the things that I want to do is to inform us that we have free technology. We have phones. We use our phones every day. You can use your phone to learn your rights. Your AI can be your paralegal. I understand that you may not know how to prompt it, but the ignorance is a disease, and the cure for ignorance is to ask those who know, right? And so the AI knows. When people say, what if it make a mistake? How many of us in here lawyers made mistakes, right? And we end up getting life sentences, and then we ended up getting back out because we learned that lawyers make mistakes, no matter how much we pay them. And so my advice to all of us is that we have a weapon right here, which is a phone, whether it's an Android or iPhone. There are multiple artificial intelligence apps that you can use for free, and use these phones to learn your rights as a human being. Because as I said in the video, first thing people, talk about, go to jail, don't drop the soap. But if you get past that part, the most violation that you receive is not from a fellow convict, but from a correctional officer who doesn't know policy, doesn't know the law, and has no qualms with using their position of authority to bring their frustration from their life into your cell and into your person and your property in a very unconstitutional way. And so I learned in prison that I had to weaponize my mind, not only to protect myself from the government giving me these unjust life sentences, But as I was doing those 22 years, I had to make sure that myself and the people from my city and my community of faith could be protected from these correctional officers and administration who didn't understand Constitution. And you had to learn how to deal with administrative law and file civil injunctions just to secure your human rights.
So what stood out, what you just said, is weaponize your mind. I need everybody to say that, okay? On the count of three, we're going to say weaponize your mind, all right? 1, 2, 3.
Weaponize your mind.
1, 2, 3.
Weaponize your mind.
So, Halim, was there a particular chapter or moment when in this book that was what was the most difficult to write?
It's some parts of the book that I think that people, what happens is, I understand I am an anomaly because I come from the hood and the streets, and I went to prison. I definitely wasn't a punk. I used to be crazy, and then I refined the craziness because you have to be crazy to do a painting and try to sell it to somebody for $50,000, right? White folks. And you haven't went to their schools. So you got to learn how to refine and weaponize your delusion, because you kind of like delusional when you're in the streets. You're armed, you're willing to kill anybody, go to jail and get shot, get killed. You got to be delusional to sign up for that as a kid every day. And so, but for me, I think that the most now as a 45-year-old growing man, the title of the book, because I don't want people to think like I'm just shitting on my dad, right? So I had a dad. He had his struggles, but my dad, he's the one who like trained me to train my body, to train my mind. And I think that when people read my autobiography and see that when I articulate some things that, about him that I don't agree with, but he's still a growing man as well. And it's certain qualities that he instilled in me as a baby, doing sit-ups, push-ups, boxing, not being afraid to get hit. Certain disciplines that when I would go to the visiting hall, my mom would visit me, I would vent to her about me being frustrated at the guys in there. My mom she would remind me, they wasn't raised like how you were raised. And so even though it may be some things our fathers didn't tell us, our fathers are not completed products either, right? A lot of us were birthed by dads that had us under the age of 25 before their brains were developed, right? And so sometimes we deify our moms, right? We make them like gods, and we kind of like put our dads down. And they are works in progress and well. So I don't want the title of the book to be like I'm a part of a way of thought to like put down Black fathers, because a lot of us are having children as children, and a lot of us really don't mature till we 40. And you read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It's a whole chapter about the age of 40 in relation to men. Women are smart, their brains develop faster. Men, we're a little slow. So for me, I wouldn't say that it's not a chapter in the book, it's the title. That I don't want people to be like so mean-spirited towards their dads because maybe they didn't show up, because they may return later. And I encourage you to be open to receive them where they at, because they didn't have to return at all. And you need to really do a forensic analysis to learn like what did they really go through when they had you, right? For them to be negligent or to be like not as to where you may be at their age.
Real quick, when you were talking, Halim, I was thinking of when you talk about the ages. I said the community I was working with, they got put on a conspiracy case, and one of the young men, I took the stand for this young man because I know how good of a young man he is. And what really surprised me is the judge went all the way back from when he was a kid. They talked about when he was in football, and it just blew my mind because it's like, what does him in school, who he was in school, have to do with who he is now? But that judge, he connected that. So, yeah.
Just briefly to respond before you ask your question. It's another book because it's a bookstore. The Other Westmore, by Governor Westmore. He mentions the practices in state governments. They review third grade reading comprehension scores to determine how many prison beds they will build in the state. And so, in relation to me, it took me a while to understand like why the system was so harsh to me. But once you go through like a judgment and commitment order process, I've always tested high. I took my pre-SATs when I was 11 and scored high. So I'm really seen as a threat. I've always been seen as a threat. Some is a blessing, some is a threat. So if you have a mind, please believe that there are think tanks that study like the Huey Newtons, the George Jacksons, the Hubert Harrisons, the Malcolm Littles, and they see like, oh, it's always outliers. And they go and do this forensic analysis and they start to see like, oh, he's always been smart. Maybe we should have just kept him in the community and let them kill him. We gave him too much time. Did you know his mom worked at the Library of Congress? Why didn't we catch that? Right? And so that's why I say weaponizing the mind is that the young brothers, like, form think tanks. That's why it's called a think tank. A tank shoots missiles. It's a weaponizing of thoughts. And so that's just my response to that. Like, they do their research on who we are as kids to understand who we are today and the potential that we can either add to their system or take away from it.
Thank you, Halim. And just to kind of follow up on a little bit of what you discussed at the beginning about what fathers never told us or told you, what would you say, and I know you said you went to prison in 1997, what would you say today to your 16-year-old self when you consider all that you've been through and kind of your experiences now?
I was so stupid back then. So I'm trying to think, like, would I even listen, right? And I'm still kind of like, don't listen. That's one of the things I need to work on. For me, it's like, I always believed. I always was delusional, right? Anybody ever did, like, Murray Crawford Cloud is here. He was on the juvenile block with us. Mama Lou Stewart came to jail 5 days. This guy right here, Muslim brother, he was in Lewisburg Penitentiary. I literally believed that I was going home every year. And so for me, the only thing that I would say to myself now is that I know you think you're smart, and you are, and I think you believe that you're going to get out. But one day, is fearless as you are and intelligent as you are, it's a emotionally dead 6-year-old inside of you that you're not aware of yet. That when you move into that neighborhood in 1986, and when you first heard those gunshots and your mom and your dad told you to get on the floor, right? That was a moment where you realized that I'm not safe in my own home, and my parents don't have the resources to move me out of this neighborhood. And from that point on, I stopped feeling, because as a Disney, Warner Brothers, all these animation, then you seeing Doogie Howser, MD, this show about this white kid who's a doctor at the age of 14, and you Leave It to Beaver, and you watch this like Ta-Nehisi Coates, he explains in Between the World and Me. It's like I'm watching this world where kids get to be kids, like the Goonies, but I can't even go to sleep in my own home in peace. At any given moment in the middle of the night, I have to get out of my bed and drop on the floor. And so in order to deal with that and maintain some sense of child normalcy, I just stopped feeling. And it was a gradual process of hearing a shot, getting on the ground, hearing a shot, getting on the ground slower, hearing a shot, not getting on the ground, hearing a shot, crawling to the window, hearing a shot, running to the window, hearing a shot, running out the window, recognizing who's out the window, to hearing a shot, but now I'm on the block and I'm scared, right? Everybody remember the first time you get shot at, you scared. You scared, your heart beating. Then hearing the shots and you're shooting back.
Ooh.
Then you out of shots, right? And so at 16, he won't understand how it's a numb 6-year-old inside of you. But almost 30 years later, you will begin to feel through the tears of your daughter. So when I was at
Y'all hear that, young man back there?
my opening to
Got
my
them baby
show
girls.
in Cleveland, and we were about to show some of the documentary of me being a kid in prison. And my daughter said, "Dad, that's not a good idea." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's okay." She said, "Nah, that video you in jail as a kid." I'm like, "Nah, it's okay," because I always show it. So when they showed it and she started to cry, that was the moment that I realized, like, damn, I only cried one time about being locked up. It was my first Thanksgiving because I was hungry. That's the only time I cried, like, about being locked up. And so what I would tell him, it's a emotionally insensitive, callous 6-year-old that's anchored inside of you that allows you to do all these mean things. But one day you will be liberated to feel through the tears of your daughter.
So we're going to open it up for questions. I got one. Okay.
Grace and peace, everyone. Grace and peace. Amazing panel, amazing conversation. Really appreciate you all. My name is Leslie E. Redmond. I'm from the inner city of Washington, D.C., born and raised. Everything that you said, like, felt it 120%. There's a brother right now that I went to high school with that's in the D.C. jail. And one of the things is he's always reaching out to me about the conditions of the D.C. jail, and they're not getting showers and the heat and, all the violence that goes on. And one of the things I'm constantly thinking about is how do we organize our people? Because a lot of people don't care until it's them, right? And so, and even him, he's like, "Leslie, you've been saying this stuff all these years, but like living it is different than hearing it," right? And so thinking about, and I just would love to hear y'all thoughts up here about how do we help organize our community, be intentional. We were talking about how many distractions there are. People will focus on Cardi B concerts and Chris Brown and Usher going on tour and not recognize the plight of the community and what our brothers and sisters are facing right here in DC jails. And so if you have any ideas about how we can organize, be intentional, and raise awareness, because this was a really good conversation. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. We had this brother right here.
Before you ask the question, let me answer it because I'll forget. Getting a little old. It's an organization called DC Correctional Information Council. My childhood friend and brother Kareem McCraney, he works there. He's in that organization is in charge of the care of incarcerated people in DC locally and in the federal system. So they have the authority to go in any institution where DC incarcerated people are at. Kareem McCraney is a former juvenile lifer. He's also a violence interrupter in the community. So it's not like you're talking to somebody who don't have experience with being incarcerated. He did 21 years. He was the first human being released under Incarceration Reduction Amendment Act. I would begin there. When I found out that the IRA law wasn't retroactive, I emailed every city council member. So I think we need to pressure our city council members, understand that you kind of have some leverage with this primary that's coming up for the mayoral race. So like press like McDuffie, the other people that's running Lewis, and also we have an example when the January the 6th people were inside the institution, the Republicans stepped up for them, and they made sure they had proper food, that their diets were met. They was about to shut the jail down, and so if the Democrat Party wants our votes for the midterms, that this is something that we should go to the Eleanor Holmes Norton, who is she doesn't have a right to vote, but she's connected, the Congressional Black Caucus, and then coordinate with organizations throughout the country, because we won't impact like the midterm elections as far as seats in the House and the Senate, but if we form coalitions with people that will, with their votes in different states, then we can go to the Congressional Black Caucus, we can go to the Democratic Party and be like, look, stop telling us what you can't do. We saw what the Republicans did. They went in there, made them change the conditions, and when they got in office, they pardoned all of them. So stop telling us what you can't do. We're seeing what can be done. So if you want our votes locally in this mayor race and city council race, and federal with the midterm House of Representatives, they want that back. The Democrats want that back. They want the Senate back. We have to form coalitions with similar like-minded organizations and individuals in different cities and states. So that way we can be like, look, we don't have anybody that we can get in the Senate or the House, but we do in Chicago, in this district, or in Texas. And so if you don't put together this Congressional Black Caucus or the Democratic in the House and the Senate, now the U.S. Capitol, and go over to jail, don't tell me you can't do it, because we just saw it be done, and change these conditions. And that's what I would do. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Brian Singleton. I'm a student here at Howard. I'm a student here at Howard. I'm a senior political science and sociology double major, Spanish minor from Detroit. I'm on a pre-law track, so I'll be. Thank you. Yes. I'm on a pre-law track, so I'll be attending law school in the fall, and my goal is to be a defense attorney. So I know you mentioned, your lawyers making mistakes. I wanted to hear, what are some of the common themes you see that are wrong, or issues, or mistakes being made, and how do you think those can best be addressed?
I ain't think he was too fancy to be here. That brother educated. Great to meet you. I love Detroit. People don't know that Detroit was the chocolate city as well as DC. And so my mom and I was just talking that, we're going to take a trip to Detroit together. But to answer your question, the criminal legal system is a storytelling industry. Something happens, say if a shot go off out there, people start to tell a story about it, whether they call law enforcement, but it's a story that's being told. The police officers come, they get a report, they take that to a prosecutor, U.S. attorney office in D.C. They go and try to get a warrant. They have to tell a story to the judge. They get a warrant. They arrest you. You get a hearing, and and it's, you tell this story. After 10 days, can they keep you in the jail and pending your indictment? If they do, and then they go to the grand jury, they tell a story, they get an indictment, right? And so now it's telling the story pre-trial, all these motions, and then trial, right? And then if you get convicted, sentencing, and then post-conviction, right? Appeals, you're telling stories from DC Court of Appeals, U.S. Supreme Court. Maybe you can file a habeas to the feds, but it's all a storytelling process. And in particular to our community, we are the greatest storytellers in the world. My proof is hip hop, right? Hip hop rap is the #1 music in the world. So every youngin' with an iPhone, right? When we was growing up, it was rare for Mama Lou and I to be rappers, right? DC was a go-go city. Now every hood got a rapper, and they beef through music, right?
Oh my gosh!
Right, and so this is storytelling. But when you place them in the arena of the court, they're mute. They don't even know how to orchestrate a play to beat the case because they've never been taught that this is a storytelling arena and that they already have storytelling skills. So what the lawyers need to do, right, and with cultural engineers like myself need to do as well, is start to empower our people to tell stories, not just, in the music, but also in the boardroom, right? In the courtroom. So is anybody here familiar with Uber?
Yes.
Everybody's familiar with Uber, right?
Empower.
Uber began with an idea. Somebody created what's known as a pitch deck, right? Put ideas on slides. Uber was just a thought. They go to Silicon Valley in California. They submit this pitch deck to venture capitalist firms, private equity, hedge funds. They tell them to come in and tell the story. They tell the story, they get millions of dollars. We can be Pookie from Memphis, Tennessee, the most poorest city in Black America, and can make millions of dollars just telling the story. But we're incarcerated to believe that we can only tell stories in hip hop. So I think like the greatest thing that lawyers can do, what my lawyer was a great storyteller, but she didn't like see that she can use my skills as a rapper to curate a narrative that will be my alibi to get me off my case. You see what I'm saying? So the criminal legal system is a storytelling industry. We are the best storytellers in the world. We just freeze up because we get in arenas where we don't know how to tell a story, right? And so learning how to empower us to tell the stories in the courtroom, in the boardroom, in Silicon Valley, in the fancy places, right? It shows versatility in this. It goes back to the weaponizing of the mind.
Thank you.
We got one more question. Really quick, I want to give a shout out to Kimmery in the back.
Shout out.
One of my young men had got locked up, and when he got out, he was unable to join the SYEP program. So we were literally walking down the street, ran into Kimmery, and he said, send him up here tomorrow. Long story short, he's working at SYEP this summer. So thank you so much, Kimmery.
So this is going to be our last question before we go into the Know Your Rights aspect. We really want everybody to be able to stay for that as well. So we're going to quickly get through these and then move right ahead.
Welcome home once again. I was going to ask you, what do you think, do you think the violence in the city has changed from back in the day, from when you first got locked up till now? Like, what's your thoughts on that? Do you think we're down, or do you think that is worse?
I think one of the greatest aspects that, because I was speaking to an attorney before we began, and I was telling her like the benefits of being a jailhouse lawyer. When you are a jailhouse lawyer, because they're asking, what is a jailhouse lawyer, right? A jailhouse lawyer is a person that's in jail, that's convicted, can no longer afford that $20,000 for that lawyer no more, right? You didn't spend that first $15,000-$30,000 on the trial. Now mama ain't got a house to put up, and it's gone. So now you inside of this system with some of the sharpest legal minds in the world. And so then I became a jailhouse lawyer, right? My first riot that I participated in prison was because they wouldn't let us go to the law library in the juvenile block. So we burnt the tear down, right? Just to go to the law library. And so from that moment, I had that commitment to learning. And so in relation to your question with the violence, we need to go and study the whole human history of violence. We can't just begin in America, right? We begin our history with thinking that we arrived on slave ships. We've been here. Human beings been violent. You have to go back to the origins of mankind to understand what are the influences that make us violent throughout history and how that looks in our time with the weapons that we have today. And all the weapons is just not guns. It's certain music, it's certain information that, so say like for instance, if we go back to when we were enslaved, right? We would play the drums. This was something we brought from Africa. We would communicate through drums. We would build up for war with drums. Once the Europeans became aware of that, they made it illegal for us to play the drums. So when you study, because we live in a hip hop culture now. So when you study some of like the music in the 808s, the beats, the frequencies, you go back to studying the Nazis in Germany with Hitler, what they were doing with the frequencies. It's no coincidence that we're having these violent outcomes because you are what you eat, right? And so once you realize you are what you eat, not just coffee and food, but conversations, music, art, land, like art is powerful. If I was to come in, they gave me $1 billion. So I want, Jeff Bezos gave Van Jones $100 million. So the joke in Hollywood, nobody know where it went, right? It's supposed to be for the black community. I want somebody to give me $1 billion and I want to go and reimagine all communities throughout the country. I understand now the power of beauty. We live in a society only extend beauty to people with money. But if I could come in and take 10th place and they allow me to put murals on the buildings and top of the line landscaping, manicured lawns, and just going people's homes, just marble counters and paintings, not that cheap, like real fine art. Just being exposed to beauty, it would make people look like, oh, they fancy over there in 10th place. You see what I'm saying? And you would be less, beauty will make you less prone to ugly behavior. Being violent is an ugly thing. It's a learned behavior because your grass is not cut. It's roaches in your house. It's rats in your alley. It's constant noise. The music is, you listen to the music, so you on downers, you perking, but your music is upward. So you like, so it's and all of that is art. It's an art to drugs. That comes from the earth. That's plant medicine. It's just being abused. So like you are what you eat. And so what I would encourage us to do, and it's a heavy task. It's not easy, right? And it's everybody each according to their means. But the basis is you are what you eat. Beauty negates ugliness. Violence is ugly. Learn how to weaponize your mind to study the origins of the ugliness in your home, in your community, in your city, and then use that to connect, to build coalitions, to beautify your mind, beautify your home, right? And then beautify your community.
Right on. Thank you. So we're gonna move right into the next section. This is a Know Your Rights presentation that's gonna be put on by Paige and Kiana. It is interactive, so we encourage you all, for the interactive bits to get involved, answer questions, any information, experiences that you have. This is super valuable for us, so don't be shy, step right up. And I'm gonna have a mic for anybody who wants to talk during the interactive section. Go ahead, Paige.
All right, y'all. So we're going to have this portion of the Know Your Rights is really about going through different myths that we hear all the time as criminal defense attorneys, what our clients will tell us that they think is true, that is not true, or vice versa. So we're going to ask you a series of questions, whether true or false. You don't need the microphone. You can just yell out true, false, whatever you think. And then we'll talk about it. Kiana is a supervisor at the Public Defender Service here in DC. I was at the Public Defender Service for a couple years here in DC. And we're going to chime in with some stories as well.
Yes.
Okay. Oh my. All right. True or false? You can get more time for stealing a car than for shooting at someone. It's true. Hit it again. So the truth is, in the District of Columbia, unarmed carjacking, which is just taking a car from someone else, no weapons whatsoever, carries a mandatory minimum of 7 years. Mandatory minimum, meaning that a judge, even if they wanted to go below the 7 years, could not go below 7 years. I'm saying this extremely loud for the people and for the folks in the back, because so many young folks get arrested for carjacking. It is one of the most popular things to do, and it is one of the most dangerous because of the mandatory minimums.
And I want to just add, I know that
not those kids in the back. You talk about the kids across
all the way. Not her baby. Exactly, not her babies. This is no.
But I also want to add that I often hear a lot of clients and residents in DC have this understanding or belief that if you're a juvenile or if you're a teenager that you'll get a slap on the wrist or it's not as serious. But Halim already talked a little bit about in an excerpt from his documentary. There's something called Title 16 in DC. And what myself and Paige have had personal experience with are 16-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 17-year-olds being arrested for armed carjacking or unarmed carjacking, and they are not in the juvenile system. They are charged as adults, and once you're charged as an adult, the mandatory minimum applies. And so please do not believe the misconception that, okay, where you're young, you're 15, you're going to be good to go. You're not going to be looking at the time that maybe a 21, 25, or 30-year-old will be. No, in the District of Columbia, children are charged as adults more likely than not for armed offenses. And yes, the judges are giving 15 years to 15-year-olds, and especially under this administration.
Yep. And so armed carjacking, obviously taking a car with a weapon, has a mandatory minimum of 15 years. Mandatory minimum. And so assault with a dangerous weapon, what we call ADW, that is shooting at somebody and missing.
Or brandishing a gun at someone is also assault with a dangerous weapon. So when I say brandishing, what I mean is you don't have to point the gun at them, but just brandish it, show the handle. And that is also considered an assault with a dangerous weapon.
That's right. And so that it's interesting because that does not carry a mandatory minimum in DC. Assault with intent to kill does have a bottom number, but I think it's 7. And again, that's basically attempted murder. So property offenses in DC, taking a car has mandatory time. KB.
Oh, hello. My name is KB. Why, if that's the case, why weren't the officers who shot at Philip Brown arrested and charged with assault with a deadly weapon or with intent to kill?
We are still asking that question. We're still asking that question because the prosecutor's office was saying that they couldn't charge the officers with anything because the bullets didn't hit anyone. Assault with a dangerous weapon is something that they could have been charged with, as well as assault with intent to kill.
And before we leave this slide, I want to add something about carjacking. Carjacking, very recently, the legislature made additional conduct legally to be considered a carjacking. And so a carjacking in DC is not like Grand Theft Auto where you walk up to the car and throw the person out of the car. A carjacking in DC could be snatching the keys away from someone and getting in their car and driving away, because the legislature has said if someone is in possession, which doesn't have to be in their car, if someone is in possession and close enough to see their car, they're in possession of their keys, you take those keys, hop in the car and drive off, you can be charged, prosecuted, and indicted for armed or unarmed carjacking. So it's not like on the movies.
So I'm thinking about like relationships. So if you getting into it with baby mama, baby daddy, they take your car. That's still considered.
If you were in possession of your vehicles, even including the keys, yes, and they take it away from you.
And so myself and Kiana, we were just talking about this before this happened, but both myself and Kiana have had young folks who have been sentenced to mandatory minimum sentences, who have been sentenced to mandatory minimums. I had a 19-year-old who was sentenced to 15 years for 2 unarmed carjackings. And
then I had a he was 17 at the time of the offense. He ended up turning 18 at the DC jail, and he was also given 15 years to run consecutive to another sentence that he was already serving in Maryland. So that young man probably won't be coming home until he's about 38. But because of things like IRA, the statute that Halim was talking about earlier, because of things like the Incarceration Reduction Act, after he serves 15 years, he would be eligible to come home. But again, it's quite a bit of time he would have to serve first.
And that's just eligible, not guaranteed.
Yeah, eligible, right.
And so the emphasis on this is that some crimes may seem less serious, especially taking a car. It's a very popular thing for young folks to do, but in all reality, DC sees property as more valuable than people. And so being armed with this knowledge, hopefully folks will be able to let their friends know. Okay, next slide.
Young person was in the car with somebody that carjacked, would they be considered under the mandatory minimum if they were just riding in the car, they didn't know that the person stole the car?
So we have a slide on that.
Don't get spanked.
And we have a slide on that, so I'm going to hold that put a pin in it. We have that. Next slide. Yeah, no mandatory.
About it,
no.
Right.
Yep. Okay, true or false? If you're in a car and there's a gun under the seat, the gun is not yours. The car does not belong to you. You had no idea that it was there. The police cannot arrest you. True or false?
Nobody saying true?
They already know.
All right, y'all already know. Constructive possession in DC is a thing that is false. Keep going, Marawi, please. The truth is that the police can charge you with constructive possession, meaning did you have the ability to exercise what they call dominion and control over the object? So I've had clients who are sitting in a seat. There's a gun underneath of their seat. It's not their car. They had no idea that the gun was there. But because of their proximity, the police are allowed to arrest and charge you for that. Because gun possession is a violent crime in the District of Columbia, you are subjected to a mandatory 3-day hold. That mandatory 3-day hold can be extended, and you could be sitting in prison during the entire pendency of your case. Now, there is case law that says mere proximity is not enough to establish constructive possession, but those arguments aren't made until much later in your case. That's not an argument that is going to keep you out of jail initially, and that's not an argument against charges being brought or an indictment being brought against you.
And I think what's really important at this point is for everyone to have an understanding of the standards of proof when it comes to court. It only takes probable cause for you to be arrested. Probable cause can be created just by someone saying, hey, this person slapped me. That's enough for the police to come and arrest you. Probable cause can cause you to be held in jail for well over 100 days, even if you and your attorney are confident that this is a case that's going to be beat. If we go to trial, you will be found not guilty. That is a completely different standard when 12 people have to find beyond a reasonable doubt that you're not the person that possessed that firearm. But probable cause is all it takes for a police officer to arrest you, and you're sitting at the DC jail waiting for your day in court. Okay. And we all know that waiting period is when a lot of times, especially young people, end up taking pleas, pleading guilty, and being sentenced for things that they did not do because they just want to go home.
Right.
So just to keep that in mind.
It sucks in there. Next one.
All right. If the police don't read you your Miranda rights, your case will gets dismissed. It gets dismissed.
Or thrown out.
Any true? We got one true. Everybody else false?
False. Okay, keep going, Marawi. Just keep going. Okay. so I have so many clients who will say they didn't read me my Miranda rights. My case gets dismissed. No, that is not what happens. When the police fail to read you your Miranda rights, that means that any statements that you made, they can possibly be suppressed, meaning that those statements, the best thing that can happen is that those statements cannot be used against you. And the fruit that they got of that statement, anything that they did as a result of your statement cannot be used against you. But any other evidence that they found absolutely can be used against you. So a lot of folks will say, no, they didn't read me my rights. My whole case gets dismissed. That is not true.
Right. And I think it's important, too, to keep in mind when the police are asking you questions like, what you got on you? What's in your pockets? Is this your car? Whose gun is that? Whose bag is this? Where you going? Those answers to those questions can be excluded from coming into a trial, but that doesn't mean that you're going to go home. That doesn't mean that the case is going to be dismissed. It just means that the answers to those questions may not be legally admissible. So when you're not being read your rights, yes, the police should be reading you your rights before they ask you questions that can lead to incriminating evidence. For example, whose gun is this? What's in the glove compartment? Where you going? Where you coming from? But in no way, and I haven't seen in any case where the statement someone provided to police in itself was enough to get the case thrown out or was enough to have the case dismissed. So
that's right. Do we talk to the police?
No.
All right.
Are we free to go?
Are we free to go? Are we free to go? That was perfect. Okay. You can be held in jail even if you've never used a gun.
What we got? Yes, no? True?
That's true. Yes, like we talked about before, mere possession. Keep going, please. Okay. Illegal possession of a gun, even if it's registered in another state, that subjects you to a mandatory 3-day hold. We see in DC all the time because we're couched between Virginia and Maryland that have very different gun laws. In Virginia, you actually don't have to have a gun. Their registration is just buying it legally. And so as people are driving through DC, if you get pulled over and that gun is not in a secure lockbox in your trunk, that is illegal possession. That is illegal possession in DC. You can be held for 3 days and continuously held beyond that point. Weed is legal in DC, so you can't get arrested for it. Y'all are smarter than a lot of my clients. Okay. Yes. So you can possess legally up to 2 ounces in DC. Selling drugs or selling weed remains illegal, and know that you do not have to get money in exchange for the drugs in order for it to be considered selling. If you have a certain amount of drugs on you, that alone can make out a case for possession with intent to distribute. PWID, as we call it, is also subject to that mandatory 3-day hold.
And I just want to add to public consumption of marijuana is a crime. Okay. And a lot of police officers in DC, especially these federal task force, they will lie because oftentimes the body worn camera will not be owned at that point, or they won't have one, period. And they'll say, oh, we saw you smoking marijuana. We saw you just throw that J out. Now we have a right to pat you down, to arrest you, to pat you down, search incident to arrest. So public consumption of marijuana is not legal in DC. And yes, the police can use that as an excuse to search you to try and find other things. The safest way to consume marijuana is within your gate, closed in your, like if you have a house with a gate in the front, inside that gate, or in your home. If you are walking down a public street smoking marijuana, or if you have a J in your hand or behind your ear, the police can say, I just saw you put that J out, or I just saw you smoking. I'm now going to pat you down. I specifically had a case where a client was sitting inside his car. He had his windows, parted, and he was enjoying a J. The police came up. They tapped on the window. They said, "What you doing?" He said, "I'm heading to J." They said, "Okay, go ahead and step out. We're going to be arresting you." And then they searched the vehicle, and allegedly a firearm was inside the vehicle. When we took that case to trial, we had a motions hearing first. The judge found that he was not suppressing the evidence in the case, and the police did nothing wrong because the public consumption of marijuana was a crime that gave the police probable cause to search his vehicle. So public consumption of marijuana is a crime, although weed is decriminalized in DC.
So back with the FBI takeover, the neighborhood that I work in, it's a one way in, one way out. So when the FBI, ABC boys, they come in, they come real fast. So one time, I think it was like a 4th of July, the guys had liquor bottles out. So, I see the FBI and I'm running. Y'all, the police, they're coming, pick the liquor up. And they're all just sitting there like, calm down, Miss Hardy. I said, but the liquor, y'all going to jail. They said, Miss Hardy, it's not open. So when it's not open, you guys, the police can't mess with you. So it was so funny they could teach this class also because I thought that was a beautiful thing. They were in front of their homes in their neighborhoods, but they know their rights and knew their laws.
Well, real quickly on that note, I'll just say there was a video just published by this about this officer who once they pulled the person out the car, they had a sealed bottle in the car. She unsealed it, poured it out, and then put the empty bottle back in the car. And this footage just came out, and they ruled that what I heard is that they found she did nothing wrong. The person who was charged, their charges remain because of some other situation. So they will, they will lie.
And
it's illegal.
And so the safest thing that you can do, back to the weed, like Kiana said, is smoking inside your curtilage or fence. I will also say if you are with people and you are not smoking, but the people around are smoking, officers will say that you were smoking and then use that as a reason to search you. I just had a client that we went through a suppression hearing, and thankfully the judge essentially said that the officer was lying about seeing my client smoking, but that judge was very, very good. She is an anomaly, and my client had to wait for about 1.5 years for us to get to the stage where we could even make that argument. So in your house, people. If you did not steal the car going to Miss Flowers, is that your mom's name? Going to Mrs. Flowers' comment, if you did not steal the car, but you're in the car, you can't be charged. Y'all are smart. Okay. Yes, false. Because unauthorized use of a vehicle is its own charge. You can be a passenger in a stolen car, and that is its own charge. That's a felony. You can serve jail time for UUV. We see that over and over. If you knew or didn't know, the fact that exactly. And that's why you have to be real careful about the cars that you're getting into, not just because is this car stolen, but also what does this car have in it because of constructive possession.
And I also think, just to kind of make sure that this is not a presentation that we're doing to make everybody feel like, oh God, this is the end of the world. All the arguments and the things that you guys are feeling like in the pit of your stomach, like that's not right, there's an argument for that. Those arguments are being made by attorneys at trial. Okay. And so you have to get to that stage. What's happening in DC oftentimes, and probably all over the country, but we practice in DC, young men and women are not even taking a risk at going to trial because it's so scary. They're like, okay, I know you're telling me, attorney, that the law says I should have known or should have known, but you're also telling me that I'm looking at 5 years. If I go to trial, I'm not willing to take that risk. So I'm just going to plead guilty, even though in my heart, I'm telling you, there was no reason I should have known, or that there's no proof or evidence that I would have known the car was stolen. The ignition isn't punched. The windows aren't broken out of, it looked just like a normal car. Some people say free car, whatever. I hopped in a car, dropped off my daughter, or I was picked up by a friend. Those arguments do work. A jury of your peers in DC would likely acquit you and find you not guilty. But a lot of young people are afraid, and maybe they don't have attorneys that are instilling in them the confidence and courage to have your day in court, which is your right to trial. And people are pleading guilty because they are afraid. But I would impart on everyone to encourage yourselves not only to learn the law, but if you find yourself arrested, asking your attorney questions about what is going to be our theory at trial. If I don't want to plead guilty, what are you going to say to a jury that will convince them that I did not know that that gun was in the car, that I did not know that that car was stolen? And those are the questions that I think will help you ascertain if you have a good attorney or not.
That's right. And also this information, you know, I know that everyone's like, this is messed up, because it is. But also this is to arm you with the knowledge of what's going on, so that you know, all right, I see some folks smoking outside. I'm gonna smoke inside with my, with my friends. I'm gonna have a little porch party with my friends. You know what I mean? And so that you can know how to move, understanding that this is the reality of the system.
Or if a police officer arrests you, no problem, sir. I'll go with you. This case is beat.
That's right. Yeah.
I'll go today, but I know that this case is going to be beat because I know the law.
Mm-hmm. Next. Okay, police cannot use your social media in court. This is so false. This is so false. And we post everything on social media now. And I will tell you that in our cases, and Kiana just had one dealing with Instagram, where she was able to get the judge to rule that the government cannot use your entire Instagram against you. But that is what they are doing right now. They're taking Instagram downloads and everything in your Instagram. It's not just what's dealing with this case, which is what Kiana was arguing, was that you can't just pull all my clients' personal information. We keep a lot of stuff on our Instagram, our Facebook, our social media. But know that your messages are all searchable.
And I also just want to add that when the government is getting search warrants for your Instagram, for your Facebook, for your Twitter, for your Snapchat, you'll never know it. They're not going to notify you. Facebook is not going to call you and say, hey, hope you know that the FBI just asked us to turn over your entire social media extraction. You will never know it. But what I want everybody to know is that when you give Instagram permission to your gallery, you know what I'm talking about. When you go and you say, I'm going to allow Instagram to see my gallery so that I can upload this picture, upload that story. You just gave Instagram permission and access to everything in your in your phone. You maybe have never uploaded that picture to Instagram, but you gave Instagram permission. The government is able to obtain that from Instagram, and they see every photo that is in your phone. Okay. And so the things that are in your phone, maybe you're saying, well, I am charged, this is just an example, I am charged with armed robbery on February 12th. There's no way in the world the things that I was posting or the pictures I was taking in January have anything to do with this case. You are wrong. The government will get those photographs, and you may have a judge who is not they don't really care about being right on the law. They just want to help the government get a conviction. They're going to allow the government to introduce into your case and use against you photos, videos, and pictures that maybe have nothing to do with the alleged crime, but it just does not put you in a good light. And I also say that when it comes to your stories, you guys may think that a story, is deleted after 24 hours. No, it is kept in your Instagram archives. And when a subpoena by the government is issued, those stories, those videos, even the voice notes, do some people communicate using a voice note through text message or on Instagram, even the voice note. And can you imagine how out of context sometimes a voice note can be? How many times have we said something maybe kind of wild in context, out of context, in a voice message, and maybe you were responding to something funny or a joke, but trust me, the government is not looking at you like a comedian. They're looking at you like a criminal, and anything that you say or do on your social media, they are trying to frame it in the scariest, worst light possible. Even if you're just joking, even if you repost a funny meme, they will try to use and interpret that as some type of criminal activity. So everything that is in your Instagram and your social media can be used against you in court. And very often we don't have the best case law when it comes to prior bad acts or things that maybe you have done that were not nice but have nothing to do with a crime. A lot of times a judge will say it's admissible. So just really be careful about what you give access to when it comes to social media.
And there's apps like Signal. I haven't gotten any discovery with Signal yet, and so I would suggest using that. Right, in terms of conversation and making and wanting to use something secure. He's shaking his head. No, they can get that too. Okay, all right. I haven't seen that in my cases yet. Oh no. Okay, next.
Raise your hand if you're getting some good information out of this.
Yeah.
Right
Oh,
on.
good.
So we're gonna keep pushing. It's almost through, and we hope that you'll stay through to the end so that we can get you, buy a book, get your book signed by this brother up here.
We only have a couple more slides. Explaining your side helps avoid charges. Y'all should know this. False, 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 false. I have never seen anyone talk when the police decide that they want to arrest you. They've put you in handcuffs. I have never seen someone be able to talk their way out of a police station ever. I've never seen it happen. Have you seen it happen?
No, once you're in the interrogation room, at that point, and they are asking you to waive your right to an attorney, waive your right to remain silent, I haven't seen any statement being made in that recorded room that resulted in the police saying, we're going to allow you to leave now.
That's right. And
Wait, there's something different.
Right.
Something different.
And also, so as you've heard before, you have the right to remain silent. You should absolutely exercise that. I've seen clients who will go into a room and just try to be buddy with the police, and kind of talk about the situation like it's just nothing. You know how it is. And all the conversations that you're having with that nice police officer, that officer is going to come into court and say that you were admitting to a crime. That is not your friend. They have made a decision that you are responsible for a crime, and anything that you say against them will be given to your attorney so that it could be used against you.
And I just want to add, whenever you're speaking with a member of law enforcement and they're showing you photographs, whether it's a still shot of someone, whether it looks like just like a paused video, and the police are showing that to you, they're trying to get you to make an identification. And oftentimes we see family members, grandmothers, mothers, sisters, the police come and they say, hey, do you know this guy? And it could just be a still shot of their son walking down the street, their son entering into a grocery store, their sister driving a car. They're like, yeah, that's my sister. You have just made an identification that could have been the last piece of evidence they needed to go and arrest that person. So whenever you're being shown a photo by law enforcement, you are under no obligation to say whether you know that person, whether the police are right about who's in that photograph. You can say, I don't know who that is or what you're talking about. Get the hell away. Do not be in assistance when it comes to the government trying to arrest someone. Let them go and do their job in some other way. And I do think that oftentimes our family members are not equipped with this information, and they don't know. They're like, is my son dead? Is he shot? What happened? Yes, that's him. That's him. That's his shirt. That's him in that video. You have just made an identification that's going to be used to prosecute that person. So do not make identifications of anybody if the police show you, especially if they show you a picture of yourself. It is not helpful if you say, yeah, that's me. That's me. That's me. Please do not make identifications of you or anybody else in any photographs.
Do we talk to the police? No. That's right.
Not free to go. Really quick. So again, the FBI takeover. When they come, you guys, they're about 15 cars deep, and it's about 50 of them. So one time we're riding the FBI, they come up, and I always teach them, don't talk to the police. Don't talk to the police. So these FBI agents came so much, you guys. One time I pulled up, and these guys, I was so upset with them. They're out there doing push-ups, having a good old time with the police. When they come to your community so much, yeah, and then like the next day they ended up arresting someone that they did the push-ups with. So it was just so crazy. Yeah, they are not your friends, but yeah, they literally locked the guy up that was doing push-ups with them. So yeah.
And piggybacking on what Kiana said, I have had several cases. That's not a myth. I've had several cases where the identification was made by someone's mother or someone's grandmother, and they had no idea. They had no idea why they were being shown a photograph, but they're able to, again, subpoena your mother, and they will absolutely subpoena your own mother and your own family to come and testify against you. And your family has no option unless they want to get a warrant out for their arrest. Okay, police have to tell you the truth. That is false. That is false. The police do not have to tell you the truth. When they are talking to you in an interrogation room and they say, we have people who are saying that you committed this crime. We have video of you committing this crime. They can absolutely lie to you. So when the police can lie to you in the street. They can lie to you in the interrogation room. They have no obligation to be truthful to you at all. So again, this is why we don't talk to the police. When the police say that they have evidence that there's all these things happening, your answer is that you want an attorney. You want an attorney as soon as possible. Okay, so I was trying to get the T.I. son video to be pulled up, but y'all know what I'm talking about. T.I.'s son, King, was just arrested recently. He was arrested for speeding, and the officers told him to step out of the car. And he was saying that he didn't have to step out of the car. Do you, if you are arrested for speeding and the police tell you to step out of the car, do you have to step out of the car?
Pulled over. She meant pulled over.
Pulled over, yes. Oh, sorry. I'm not saying not arrested. You are pulled over for speeding or tags or tints or any sort of traffic violation. If you are pulled over for a traffic violation, do you have to step out of the car? All right. Oh, hold on. Where
Raise your hand for true. Raise your hand for false. The room is split.
True. You have
True.
to step out of
True.
the car. You have to step out of the car. The case law says, keep going, Morawi, please. The case law says officers are able to demand any person step out of the car for their own safety.
Right.
Even if it is just a traffic stop and there is no evidence that you are dangerous whatsoever. Arguing, as soon as you start arguing with officers and saying that you are not stepping out of the car, can lead to additional charges and additional things. So I have had people be pulled over for traffic stops all the time. No, Dad. For being pulled over for traffic stops all the time who say that they do not have to step out of the car. They do not have to give license and registration. You have to step out of the car.
Yeah. And ladies and gentlemen, we are not agreeing with this, but the reason the law allows this is essentially kind of like a loophole for the police. It's not that they actually feel like you're a threat, that they actually feel like you're dangerous, but just like we're telling you about this law, they know about it too. So the first thing they're going to tell you is you got to get out of the car. And when it comes down to court, they're going to say, I needed that young man to step out of the car because he was reaching, because I saw a bulge, because the way he was acting, I believe there was a gun in the car. There were things he was doing that made me feel unsafe as a police officer based on my training and experience. And the case law says that that is a justification for police officers to not only make the driver step out, but the passenger, the people in the back seat. They can make everyone step out of the car under the guise of they did not feel safe. But they are not going to tell you that they don't feel safe. They're going to say that when they get to court. Okay.
Do they also do that to set you up, knowing that most people think you don't have to get out the car?
Right. I agree. Yep.
We got a question.
That's what we saved that.
Let's wait to the end for questions.
Okay. Oh, okay. Well, I turned. I didn't do the animation on this one, but a lot of people think that there is no self-defense laws in DC. There is. You do have a right to self-defense in the District of Columbia, and we wanted to be real precise with the language that we're giving to y'all. So every person has a right to defend themselves if they believe he or she is in imminent danger of death or serious bodily harm, and he or she has reasonable grounds for that belief. Now, you can still be held in jail pending your self-defense case. If there's a shooting case, your defense is self-defense. A judge can hold you in jail. I just had an attempted murder case where my client sat in jail for several years before we got to a trial and were able to prove that he shot in self-defense. How long is your felony one trial schedule set out for? I have trials in 2027.
2 to 3 years.
Real quick before we go to the questions, did you want to say anything on this last slide?
No, just so most of we just wanted to end with most people don't get in trouble because they plan to. They get in trouble because they didn't know the consequences. And it's not just I don't like the term getting in trouble, but it's it's important for us to have these teach-ins and for us to know what the legal landscape is right now so that we know how to maneuver and move in the world. And we know how, when the police say step out of the car, all right, we stepping out of the car. Can you search the car? You cannot search the car. You know what I mean? And so that you know what you're doing. And if the police come up to you, they're saying something BS about, oh, the people are around you are smoking, I want to search you, you know to remain silent, not say anything to them, and that you are able to fight their illegal search and seizure at a different time.
Right on. So we have time for two. There's a bunch of questions, but we're gonna do it like this. We have time for 2 questions, and then we're gonna watch a very quick video of a really crazy event which happened yesterday. Just to cap this off, and then we can go to more questions for time. I just want to get to that video before people start to leave. So we had a question here first that I saw. Did you still have your question, sir?
Oh yeah, quick question. I don't need that. I'm good. I'm good.
We need it for the video.
Oh, I'm sorry. Quick question. I was watching something on YouTube, and they pulled the guy over. They didn't ask everybody to get out the car. They asked the passenger for his ID. He didn't do anything. He was just sitting there minding his business, but he got pulled over. So if they pull me over, do they ask the passenger for his ID, even though he didn't do anything?
Yeah, so they are able to ask for identification for everyone in the car. And remember, it goes back to that safety justification. They're going to say they want to know who they're talking to, what they're dealing with. But the things that the police say, it doesn't mean that they're telling the truth. These are just loopholes to try and justify the things that they're doing that are ultimately likely to be found illegal. But I think that what's best in those situations is to try to comply when you can, as far as a traffic stop. But when it comes to the legal issues, that's why it's so important to know them, so that if you end up arrested and if you have a lawyer that's telling you it's nothing we can do about this, we're dead in the water, you can immediately say, no, we're not. And maybe you want a new lawyer. But in those situations, there are justifications that are made in the law that allow police to have a little bit more leeway when they can say that they do not feel safe. And that's an example of they want to know who they're talking to. And they might even say, we saw that young man reaching. He looked like he matched the description of a lookout of a bolo that we saw 2 days ago. They say make up all types of crazy facts to justify just going too far and violating people's Fourth Amendment rights.
We're gonna go to this brother right here.
This is a question kind of for Halim. My name's Kelly. They call me Mr. Don't Get Spanked. So look, something about Don't Get Spanked is really all about, they think it's about gun violence, pushing peace, but it's more so you are nothing more than the energy you consume and you project, right? So if you can consume a negative energy, that's going to be the sum of your life, right? So I just want to see if you had any advice, basically about staying disciplined and making sure you're the one who disciplining yourself and you staying resilient, because you don't want to put yourself at the mercy where you got to rely on a case manager, a lawyer, a detective, anything like that, because these are all systems built to, monetize our trauma. I talk a lot about the weaponization of our emotions, dealing with our mindset, but something you said is weaponizing your mind against that. So when you're sitting in prison, you kind of ain't got no choice. You sitting there all day, but once you get out, you overstimulated. It's a lot of stuff coming your way. So do you have any advice or any, principles, anything that you use to basically stay disciplined, stay grounded, stay focused in your fight?
Sorry, brother, not to discount your question. I think it's an important question to get an answer to. Just since we're doing it in sections, we want to get a question about the legal the thing that we just had, and we'll be bringing it back to Halim during the book signing, so we could do that. Sorry, don't mean to disrupt. Does anybody have a question about the KYR? On the KYR?
Yeah, on self-defense, can I ask a question on that piece? I got a quick question about the self-defense law. A lot of people I know, they tried to claim self-defense, they got on the stand and talked themselves into manslaughter. So I'm wondering, because self-defense could be viewed different ways in different environments. So I'm wondering, like, if a person pull out a knife and I pull out my gun and shoot him, is that self-defense? Do I have to take their knife from them and stab them with it? Would that be self-defense?
No.
So
No, 100. No, you are 100% right. That would still be considered self-defense, because self-defense is not rigid. It takes into consideration somebody's personal experiences and what you believed in that moment. what you believe as someone who maybe has trauma. Maybe you've seen people be stabbed to death. Maybe you've watched people have their throat slit. When you saw that knife, maybe me, who I might be trained in jujitsu, when I see a knife, I can slap it out of your hand. But because of your personal experiences, you saw that knife and you thought this person is going to seriously, imminently injure me or kill me. And so I have a right to defend myself. Self-defense doesn't mean wait to be killed and then you come back from the dead and then you kill them. No, self-defense is I have a right to protect my life. And in order to protect my life, if I have to take yours, and I will do that. But it has to be reasonable. You cannot chase after somebody and they're running away from you. You shoot them in the back of the head. That is not self-defense. You have went too far. Now, granted, heat of passion, there are things that will de-escalate it, like you said, from murder to maybe manslaughter. But for self-defense to completely beat, for example, a homicide case where you are found not guilty, your use of self-defense has to be reasonable under the circumstances. And I do think that if somebody is pulling a knife out on me because of my personal experiences, I would believe that person is trying to kill me. Now, I'm not saying I would have a gun to shoot, but if I did have a gun, right, I would use it to protect myself. And I do think it's important for you guys to all know a very, very recent case law that came down. Benson is important, but no, we should talk about Benson. But something that recently came down is temporary innocent possession. How many people have known for someone, maybe they're not supposed to have a gun and they had to use a gun in self-defense? Prior to this law, you could be found not guilty of the homicide, but you would still be convicted of felon in possession of a firearm or possession of an unlawful firearm. There's new case law that says if you only had that firearm long enough to protect yourself and you only had it for the reason to protect yourself, that you can have that firearm and you will be found not guilty and acquitted of possession of a firearm, even though you didn't have a license. But you cannot walk around with the gun waiting on somebody to try you. I got it just for the purposes to protect myself in the moment that it was required to protect myself.
That's right. And just to piggyback off of that, when you were saying someone pulls out a knife and the other one pulls out a gun, I had a case where the complainant had pulled out a knife, and my client, because he's been shot 3 times in the past, his PTSD kicked in. He had a gun with a switch on it, and now we have 21 gunshots in the middle of the day. And dude only had a knife. Well, we got a hung jury on that case, and we were 8-4 not guilty and hoping to get another not guilty. But that the jury was buying that he was shooting in self-defense, even though it was 21 gunshots.
All right. So this is what we're going to do. I know there's a lot of questions here, but Sankofa's got some time limits on us, and we have one more thing to get through. And so what we're going to do is really quick.
Do the kids have any questions? 10th place, y'all got any questions?
10th place, any questions? That's fine.
And if you have some, if you think of some, they're here, they're going to be here for a little bit after we end. You could just come to them one-to-one.
We want
I
to
just want to show this video real quick, and we're going to talk about it. Who's seen this video so far? Yeah.
Is this so this officer, his name is Anthony Del Burrell. He was one of the officers that I had in my most recent suppression hearing issue. Remember when I was telling you that the police will say that you were smoking, but people around you were smoking, and the judge found that he was lying? That's him.
Here we go.
Have I been detained? Yes. For what? I'm telling you. Come here. For what? Come here. I'll talk to you. Come here. Why are you grabbing? Just talk to me. Why are you grabbing? You're being stopped. He's okay. He's okay. He's okay. You're being stopped. I'm going to talk to you. For what? Okay, listen, sir. I'm going to talk to you. Just calm down, because I don't want to keep doing this. Just stop. What am I being detained for? All right. I'm going to tell you why. Can you say right now? Yes. Just stop right now. You keep trying to pull. All right. You going to stop? My man. When we came up, all right, as soon as you saw us, you looked back twice, correct? You also moved your backpack, in the, your little satchel area in the back of you, okay? So what I was going to do is pat you down for a possible weapon, okay? So with that being said, we're going to take a stop with you. Sir, come here. You can't move. Stay right here, okay? What am I being detained for? I already told you. We already went over that. Suspicion of a weapon. Yes. There you go. So you don't need to move no more. You're being stopped at this point. You asked me if you're being detained. You are detained. Yes. Okay? So this is what we're also going to do. We're going to take a stop report for numbers, okay? You have the ID on you? No. You have no ID?
No. Okay. You gonna give me your name, information? No. So we put a report? No. So you don't want to give no information? No. Okay. We'll take it down at 4400. You're gonna be John Doe, okay? Just to let you know, sir, we're gonna take a report saying why we stopped you, okay? Do you understand the words that I'm saying? Yes, sir. Copy this. You're free to go now, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, fuck the police. So was that legal? Was that legal, lawyers?
No. So what he just tried to make out was furtive gestures, which again, this particular police officer has several Office of Police complaint sustained complaints against him, specifically for satchels, for Black men wearing satchels around their chest. He's notorious for stopping people with satchels around their chest and saying that they were moving, that they were looking left and right, that they were looking suspicious. That is not legal. But again, the argument that it was not legal can only be made at a suppression hearing. So if that dude did have a gun in his bag, he would have been put under arrest. He would have been subjected to a mandatory 3-day hold. He may have been held during the pendency of his case, and the illegality of his stop would not have come into place until a suppression hearing down the line. But this is the exact set of facts that I had in my case.
And I also want everyone to know, just to empower the community, videos like this can be sent to the Office of Police Complaints to have an internal investigation looked into the incident. And that not only can end up in him being found to have violated not only this person's rights, but Metropolitan Police Department general orders. It could lead to him being suspended, placed on administrative leave, or even termination, depending on what his prior history of misconduct is. So when you do see officers in the community doing things to people like this, record them, ask them for their badge numbers, ask them for their names, and send it directly to the Office of Police Complaints so that we can get them investigated and try to get these people out the force.
Yep. And the whole reason why we know about all the sustained complaints are because people made them, because there was an investigation, and because he was found to have repeatedly violated people's constitutional rights.
So the reason I'm showing this video, I see y'all hands in the back. I got y'all real quick. Let me just say the reason why I'm showing this video is because, like I mentioned before, we're here to talk about, the injustice system, the way it comes down on us. We're here to talk about our rights in order to defend ourselves, in our communities. But we also want to get, we want to be able to fight back, because these are the way things are. They're not the way that they have to be. And we say that we have the power, if we are willing to fight for it, to develop power over police, to hold them accountable in situations like this and worse. Who heard about the young brother who was found hanging up the street at 4D? So we say that we want, like in Chicago, community control of the police in the hands of the people who are most directly affected by police violence. Now, what that means is we want the power to take a video like this and say, Del Borrell, he's got how many complaints on his record? Because it is important to put in these police complaints and build a record. But he's got many sustained, and he's still on the force. Ain't that right? He's still out there terrorizing Black and brown people. And we say that's not enough. We say we want the power to determine what happens to these officers when they do things like this. We want to be able to put them off the force. We want to be able to charge them and lock them up. Ain't that right? So what we say is, this is not it's not an impossible project. In Chicago, they have what they call partial community control of the police. There's a body of people directly impacted civilians who have power over police policy. Their first order of business when they were established in 2023 was abolishing the gang database. We have a gang database in here in DC as well, where they track, surveil Black people, brown people all over the city. They put them on this list. It could be because something that you wore, some neighborhood that they saw you at, you know what I mean? And now suddenly you're on this list where you're being tracked. It could affect your employment opportunities. They could just say when they lock you up for something else, they could hit you with other things as well. In Chicago, within days, they were able to eliminate that with people, regular people who were part of this body. And we want so much more than that. We want power over their budget. They have $500 million. Our neighborhoods have nothing. We want power over their contract, which protects them in situations like this. That's why he's still on the force, because his contract protects him. We want power over the chief of police, who is helping them to this day, or was helping them lie when they covered up when Homeland Security almost killed Phillip Brown, shot into his car. Who heard about that case? They pulled him over on Bennett Road. Homeland Security shot into his car. NPD said, no shots were fired in order to protect the Homeland Security who shot into his car illegally. And so we say we want power over all that. And all these ICE agents, these federal agents, we want to set MPD policy which forces them to investigate and charge them when they come into our communities, because this officer, Del Burrell, is surrounded by feds. He's a jump out boy with a bunch of Fed jump out boys with him. You saw the ABC boys. Who comes into your neighborhoods? ICE, DHS, Homeland Security, CIA, all these federal agents, ATF. Why is, who's the taxes? IRS walking around with guns in DC? We want the power to say MPD has to go arrest and charge all of them. And so those things are possible. That type of power that we want and the type of power that we can build. And so the DC Alliance is building that type of campaign. Y'all feel me? Yeah. Come on. So the next thing that we're going to do for the young man who was hung, they found him hanging up at 4D, we're going to have a vigil for him early next week. And we hope that everybody there will join us. Now, we're going to open it back up. As we open it back up for questions, we're going to say, if you want to purchase a book before Sankofa closes down, now is the time to quietly get up, go to the cash register, purchase a book, and then bring it back to the front for our brother Halim to sign it for you. All right? The books are, you have to, they're $14.99 retail. They might be a couple dollars more, but I'm not sure yet. Anyway, they got you at the counter. I'm going to let you handle the questions.
Yes. My little heels. And then I see you two in the back. You guys will be the last two.
How you doing? My name is Craig.
Oh,
I want to
forget.
piggyback off of what the young lady said about the Office of Police Complaints. So when you go down there, because I was violated by a police officer, and I work in the fire department, and I'm an official as well, and he actually saw my white shirt in the car. So when you go down to the Office of Police Complaints, if you don't talk about any type of money, like you're suing them, they're going to brush it under the rug. I could tell a story to this day. I was going to an event at the convention center. I was trying to learn how to tie a bow tie off the video. And the jump out came out. And so happened, the jump outs from 3D, a lot of white boys work at night because they could do what they want to do. And so I went down there, told my story with the glass there. I could tell it today. I work in the fire department. They was like, oh, they passed it off to somebody else. They said, oh, we couldn't find you anymore. So one of the assistant MPD chiefs, he was like, if you don't put any amount of money involved, they're going to brush it under the rug. So if you have a complaint against a police officer, you better add some money to it. Because if not, they're going to just brush it away.
Or have a lawyer or have a lawyer submit it, because they tend to follow up when a lawyer does it.
Thank you. No, I'm gonna close with him. These two in the back, their hands, I know they tired. I know their hands are tired because their hands have been up, and I just want to honor and recognize and get their questions. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Wow, I didn't put $1 to it. That'll wake them up.
Testing. Miss Hardy, can you hear me? Okay, everybody can hear me. Hello. I'm Lisa Musa. I am actually a returned citizen advocate, as well as a therapist, mental health, substance abuse, and everything else. This question is actually, I guess it's actually really for the whole team. Being a Washingtonian and seeing all the things that's going on now, how do we get past the trauma of what we're seeing now in reference to? Because I consider this to be like an early stage of lynching. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I just helped a family whose black son, was sitting in a car in DC, sitting in the car, him and his friend, no marijuana smoke, nothing. He had his friend who had a child in the car, and they ended up letting the little boy get out the car with his son. But the owner of the car they kept. And they asked the question, what's in that book bag? For me, it's real scary for us, this color, and looking a certain type of way, to be here in Washington, D.C., and we have all the jump outs with the DEA, the CIA, all these people that I'm not really used to. That's traumatizing for us. What do we do as a community, as a people? Even right now, I'm seeing the different races and a very diverse in here. What do we do? Because when I went to court with them, because they locked them up, but they let him go. 7th district, they let him go, and they no paper. But he literally had to go through. Her child has never been locked up. He literally had to go through central sales, courtroom JT, and whatever the case may be. Now he got a wonderful experience and able to learn something from that. But what do we do? How do we behave and how do we act when we know that we're being targeted?
I like that. I like that. Can we ask the other 2 questions, and we're going to answer all those questions at once? Can you, the next person, please? No, he's last. So, yeah.
Thank you. This was so powerful. My brother, attorney Carl Wilson Jr., dedicated his life to fighting for the youth in Detroit and in DC to stop young people to be charged as adults. The laws were set for children for a reason. And I was just wondering if you could please speak to any advocacy or any work to stop our children from being charged as adults. It is illegal. It should not be happening. And particularly in our population, it's happening extensively. So I just wanted to ask that question, please. Thank you.
Wow, those questions, they kind of have similar answers. But yeah, go ahead.
95% of people who are in federal prison are there because they plea bargain. And as you say, very few people go to trial. Do you use the Speedy Trial Act to force the government to take cases that they know aren't really good cases? And if a lot of people refuse to take plea agreements, they would force the government, they would overload the system because they don't have enough judges in courtrooms to try all these people under the Speedy Trial Act. So that's a good social way to force the government to figure out which cases they want to actually pursue and in which cases they know are absolute BS. The second thing I want to raise, under the 1984 Sentencing Reform Act, they got rid of parole and created this beast called supervised release, which became effective November 1st, 1987. Under supervised release, federal judges are not required to impose terms of supervised release. They are discretionary under 18 U.S.C. 3583. So, but most defense attorneys act like they do not know that supervised release is discretionary, and they give out sentences, terms of supervised release that are greater than or equal to the actual sentence. Do you understand that? And do you actually contest at sentencing the imposition and the length of sentencing on the supervised release?
Glad you guys are up here because that's definitely a lawyer's question. But I'm gonna let these 2 ladies answer it, and don't get spanked. I'm gonna allow Halim to answer and close out. If that's okay, Marari?
Sounds good.
All right.
Okay, so one was I think the first question was how do we stay safe when we're being targeted? I think that plugging into communities like this, plugging into Guns Down Friday, and knowing people like Miss Hardy, like Marawi, like the DC Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression, having several good attorneys at your disposal, because we keep us safe. When that gentleman in the community was harassed by the ABC gang, Miss Hardy was able to pick up the phone and call me. And we were able to be at the courthouse and make sure that I was monitoring his case, making sure what was going on, what he was being charged with, what was going to happen. And so that whenever he was being seen by a judge, he was standing next to a competent attorney or had a competent attorney that was ready to do that. Knowing your rights whenever the police come up and talk to you, and exercising the things like Miss Hardy teaches her kids, saying, am I free to go? Am I free to go? But again, once the police have made a decision that something is going to happen, you at that point need to plug in and deploy your community and your resources to support you and make sure that we can fight against that.
So the last questions we're going to have, they can go to you in directly because I have kids that need to get to school. So Halim, can you close out and we're going to get out of here.
This book was written for young men. So this message in closing to young men. When I wrote this book, I had been incarcerated for like almost 12 years. So I had no like interactions with women. And now raising a daughter is like a new process for me. And this closing is in particular to young men, because being a young black male in America is serious. And you hear like the women, they ask the questions, they're really concerned. They really like feel, but being a man, a lot of us in our community, we have an epidemic where we over-mothered and under-fathered. And it's a lot of femininity in young boys. And being a black male in America, especially in these inner cities, it's a very serious and very dangerous reality. And we wake up every day with the reality that we can be killed by people who look like us. It's people who look like us who operate within these different law enforcement, prosecutorial, and judicial and legislative mechanisms, who wake up every day and it's like a game for them to put you in jail for the rest of your life. And so even a man talking about the Speedy Trial Act, that's 90 days. In 90 days, you can get raped. You can get that. Niggas will you up in jail. When we went to the juvenile block, we didn't go to YSC. We was over DC jail. At the age of 16, we were on the upper right and the upper left tier. Each tier was beefing with each other. At the bottom tiers, you had adults who were administrative segregation. Wasn't protective custody. These are guys that have stabbed people and done things, and they're disciplinary. So you would go down on the main floor to use the phone or to play basketball. And in situations where young men have been stabbed by adults, been raped by adults. It's case law on this. So don't discount that you can do 90 days. It's people that go do 90 days and they might make it back, but mentally they're broken. So don't think that like you can just do 90 days, or you could do a year, or you could do 7 years. Because it's a reason why America has one of the most inhumane prison conditions in the world. But yet 7 out of 10 people go back within 1 to 3 years with a new case. I wanted to mention that. And then lastly, when you asked the question about discipline, discipline is the ability to commit what is painful temporarily for long-term benefit. And as men, we are required sometimes to go through resistance training to build muscle. You have physical muscle, and you have mental muscle, and you have spiritual muscles. It is necessary for us in this democracy. We live in a democracy, but it's not a perfect democracy. And as an underclass who is socially constructed as black, and then being men, we have been targeted since the beginning of this social contract in a way in which other men in this country are not. So it requires us to be very disciplined just to stay alive, and very disciplined in doing the things that are uncomfortable. Research is uncomfortable. Studying the law is not fun. Studying economics is not fun. Being an entrepreneur is not fun. Engaging in arms training is not fun. But these are things that we must do to protect ourselves, our loved ones, and our community. Yes, we live in a democracy. No, it is not perfect, but we use what we have to get what we want. And we have more rights than a lot of people in the world, but unfortunately, being constructed as black men and women, we have to fight for them. And so weaponize your mind, commit to what is uncomfortable temporarily for long-term benefit. And that's one of the last things that our ancestor Nipsey Hussle told us. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
I usually don't come like this, but I'm very, very touched. Stop it. This guy. I can be heard. You can hear me. You can hear me. Thank you, sister. Tell that boy there. So first, I just want to say to the three sisters here, thank you so much for the service you're putting out. For me, the commitment is visible, and you have the systems, the language, and protocol to protect our people. And I'm touched. Number two, you, my brother, you dropping atomic bomb in this bookstore. Okay. And I don't know, we need some volunteers, but I want this taped stuff, all of it. And, around you is the sisters here, but also you, transcribed. We will have the video available to be transcribed. That will be your second book, my brother. Because I was glancing your book, what you are dropping today could really be transcribed and really come into like George Jackson's Blood in My Eye, etc. I'm touched by it. That's what I'm telling you. And so Marawi, I think somehow we could add even some interview with the crew later on another day, add up more discussion. I'd like to ask you stuff. I'm sure my wife, who's also a filmmaker, would love to ask you questions. And somehow a book should come out of this situation today. And so we will cooperate. We will, we'll get the video available, but we need volunteers to transcribe. Sit down, transcribe it, and then we'll find there's African American and African publishers that we could submit the book for the brother to have a book again. And of course, I'm proud of this guy here. And his mother is down. His mother is there, Shirikiana, and I don't know if she's going to chastise me for intervening, but I felt it. I had to do what I feel because it's my own place, brother. Thank you, sisters too.
All right. Thank you, everybody. This was an incredible night. We had a lot of, outpouring from the whole community. You can see this place was packed at one point, standing room only. So, follow Sankofa Books if you haven't already. If this is your first time here, don't let it be your last. And we're doing another event. Oh, real quick, quiet on set. What's the next date? The second KYR? Our next Know Your Rights event will be May 8th at Navy Yard. We will be at Navy Yard at the curfew zone in direct confrontation with the forces that are attacking Black youth in this city.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, and if you want to read some George Jackson, we got some Blood in My Eye and Soledad Brother right here. For Halim. We have thank you, everybody. If you're not following DC Alliance, follow DCAARPR on Instagram. All right. Halim's book has sold out, but follow this brother. He'll get you some more. We'll get some more here in house pretty soon. Sorry, folks. You can get us some more copies later. We're going to have some more copies soon, folks. KB bought the last one. Beef with KB.
I seen it before, but it's just like it's so. You already know. I do know. I do know things. Thank you, my brother. I appreciate you.